All right, let's go ahead and get started. Looks like we got a lot of people in here, a lot of comments. Looks like we got well over half the people in here so far, so that's great. Okay, well, let's start off with tasks and task triggers. So a lot of questions on tasks and task triggers lately. We're going to go over basic setup of task templates a little bit. We're going to get into tasks and a little bit advanced features that I've seen other people use that have been successful. So hopefully you guys can incorporate those in your business. So we're going to come over first to just the task template. So in your template menu, under tasks, this is where you're going to want to set up your templates. So what I usually recommend to people is go ahead and make a task template for all the things that are going to happen on every single transaction first. So whether it's cash, whether it's financing, whether it's 2 buyers, whether it's 17 buyers, it doesn't matter. Get that core task list that you need and go ahead and put that in one of your task templates because that's coming in regardless every single time. Then you're going to want to separate out the specialty items. So if it's a VA loan, I have special things to do. Let's go ahead and add those. There's a trying to think of some different scenarios that you might have, but say it's a conventional loan, say it's a USDA loan, all those different things that you might have. Say this one is you're going to be uploading to SkySlope versus .loop or whatever the compliance system is. You can create these smaller task templates to complement your transaction, but you really want to get that base transaction list or that task list that's going to come in for every single transaction first. Okay, so let's go in and just take a look at this. This is where you're going to want to set these up. I just have a really small task template here just to give you guys an idea of what it looks like. You can add a new task, type in your task. You can base it off a property date. You can just put in a date. Obviously, that probably wouldn't work for a task template. But once we get into the transaction, if you want to switch that date to just a specific date, you can do that as well. So if I do click property date on here, you can say 2 business days, calendar days, skipping weekends, same day as. So in this case, let's just say 2 business days after or before. And in this case, we're just going to use contract acceptance date. So 2 business days after contract acceptance date. Now, if it lands on the weekend, what do I want it to do? Do I want it to roll back to Friday? Do I want it to roll up to Monday? Or do I want that task actually due on a Saturday or Sunday? A lot of my escrow, lending, attorney tasks, I'll have it roll back to Friday so I don't miss something, so I don't miss a deadline, but I'm still contacting them on a business day so that they get that email before end of business on Friday and they can respond to me. So I'm not waiting all weekend for whatever that is. So in this option, you can roll it back to Friday. You can roll it forward to Monday if you want. Federal holidays, you can also, if it lands on a federal holiday, it's going to roll back to the previous day or roll forward to the next day. Skip federal holidays. Some states skip federal holidays. So you can count the federal holidays or skip the federal holidays in that calculation. So whatever you want to do there. Okay. Now, if you want to base it off another task.
Hey, Andrew, I just want to throw in a quick thing here. Just one of those important details about the rolls is if you are going to roll it backwards on the weekend, you want to usually set up the federal holiday roll and the weekend roll to be the same thing. For example, you don't want to get stuck into a situation where it lands on the weekend, you roll it forward to Monday. Monday is a federal holiday and it rolls it back to the weekend. You get stuck into a bit of an infinite loop. So it's one of those things to keep in mind.
Yeah, perfect. No, I forgot about that, but that's a great point. I actually did that from the beginning, and that's one of the changes that Shane had to make for us. So if you roll this forward, let's see if it even lets you do that. No. So as soon as you select the rollback here, it's going to change your rollback here. So it's not even going to let you get into that situation where you're going to have that infinite loop, but just be aware of that. Okay, you can also base it on a task. So you can say 2 business days after, and then it'll show you the current tasks in this template. So I want it 2 business days after, send opening emails, this, and then you can base it off that. So that's a template. That's how templates work. You can color code them. You can pre-color code them. So if you have something that red means versus purple versus, you can do this, make this one green. You can do that. You can have parent-child relationships. You can also have tags. So these tags are really important for searching later. So when you're looking in your task pipeline, which I'll touch on later in this webinar, you can sort by your tags. So if I just want to see all my opening tasks, you can pull up that tag and it's just going to show you those opening tasks. If I want to see all my compliance tasks, I can just pull those up by using tags. And now it can have multiple tags too. So if this is an opening task, and I don't know, I'm just going to pick the first one on there. You can have multiple tags on there. Okay, roles. This is who's going to be assigned to this task. So we do things by roles. We don't do it by individual people. The person on your team may leave. You may fire them. You may hire someone new and promote that person. There's a lot of different scenarios. They may have to take like a 2-month leave. I just heard about someone taking a 2-month leave the other day. So what you want to do with these roles is put the role of the person that is going to be doing this task. So this is a compliance task, upload to SkySlope. We're going to have the compliance manager here. Now, let's say Bob is our compliance manager and he goes and gets another job somewhere, and Susie comes in and she's our new compliance manager. All I have to do is assign that role to Susie. And now all 2,000, 3,000 tasks just updated automatically to include Susie on these tasks instead of Bob. So it's a really easy way to change things midstream without having to go back and reassign every single transaction to a new person. Okay. If I want to add a new one, so say I'm way down on the page here, out of view, and I don't want to have to scroll back up to add a task, I can just hit add here, and it's going to pop in a new task underneath. Now, if I want to clone this task and just change it a little bit, so let's say it's upload to SkySlope, I can hit clone. And everything on Zoom is going to take a little bit longer today. This should be pretty instantaneous on your side. And then I can go in here and change this to, whatever. So you can use those buttons if you're out of view. Now we're going to go over all this once we get over to the actual transaction. So I'm going to skip this part right now. Does anyone have any questions regarding roles, tags, anything that I went over so far? All right. I don't see any questions coming in. So we will move on. Okay, another important thing is, where do these templates come from? So you can either manually assign a template, or you can use a property template, which we're not going to get into today. That'll be a webinar in the future. Or the most efficient way is using intake forms. And I'm not going to get into intake forms too much, but I will show you where to put this. So in the intake forms, if I go into a sample intake form here, one of the most powerful things about this program is having the agent or the TC fill out this intake form and then have things trigger on the back end. So if they answer yes to a certain question, or if they say it's a buyer instead of a seller, if it's greater than 5, there's a bunch of conditions that you can put in here. So in this case, it's if the file role counteroffer number 2 exists, and if the inspection period length is greater than 5, then I want to add this task template and this document template. So just an example of how you can add a task template. All you have to do is click up here on this. You can choose your task template. So let's just say buyer tasks. I'm going to go ahead and add that. And now buyer tasks are there, and it's going to add every time that these 2 things are true. Now, if you want to make an or statement, you can always click here. It's going to say you're making a child condition. And then you can say if counteroffer number 2 exists or counteroffer number 1 exists and inspection period length is greater than 5, then go ahead and trigger this task template to come in, or in this case, 2 task templates to come in. So on our intake form webinar that's already recorded, it goes into this in great detail. So if you want more information about that, there's a beginners one, and then there's an advanced one, and we'll be re-recording one soon on intake forms with all the new updates. All right.
And we actually, if anybody wants to reach out to support about it too, we do have a kind of an unofficial 30-minute deep dive just focused on the agent intake forms section.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so let's go into a transaction now and take a look. I'm going to go into this one. Okay, let's go to my task tab. Okay, so under tasks, I have a bunch of different options here. So we're just going to go through all the buttons really quick, tell you what they do, and then we'll get into a little bit more advanced techniques here. So if you want to add a task, you can just hit add a task just like you could over in the template. So we already went over that. You can apply a template manually. So if I wanted to apply it manually, this is not the best way to do it. But if you have something come up midstream and you want to add the closing tasks, you can definitely do that. Apply that template, and that task template will come in. This is going to show you what tasks you're viewing. So are you viewing all your tasks from all the templates that you brought in, or do you just want to see the closing tasks? If I just want to see the closing tasks, I can click on that, and it's going to pull up everything that I've classified as closing. So I'm going to pop this open so we can see what's going on here right now. But these tasks were a part of my closing tasks. So if I don't want to see that and I just want to see, let me see, this one only has 1 task in it, I believe. Okay, so if I want to see add to SkySlope template, oh, I don't even have one in here for that. So I must have deleted it or done something. Here, let me try earnest money. There you go. So in the earnest money, we have one task. So this is the view of what you're seeing. I want to see all my tasks, so I'm going to go ahead and just pop it on all tasks. This is another good way to see if templates were applied. If, say, someone on your team was supposed to apply a template, you can come in here and see what templates were applied. Okay, if I want to see just tasks that are assigned to Adam, then I can come in here and click Adam, and it's going to pop this up here so you know what you're looking at. And these are all the ones that are assigned to Adam. Now, they may be assigned to other people as well, but Adam is definitely one of those people on all these tasks. So I'm going to go ahead and X that out so we can get rid of that. And it's going to pop us back to all our tasks. These are the tags that we talked about earlier. So you can come down here and say, I just want to see the ones that are tagged opening task. It's again going to pop this up. And now it's just the ones that are marked opening tasks on my tags. Okay, next one is colors. If I just want to see all the yellow tags, or all the yellow tasks, I'm sorry. There you go. Those are all the ones that are marked yellow. It does have this yellow on the outside as well, so you can kind of see it a little bit better. In this case, I'm going to just go back to no color, so it shows me all my tasks again. And the next one is anything with triggers. So if I just want to see the ones with triggers on them, I can click that. It's just going to show me this one, this one, this one, any ones with the red, this one, this one. And these are my criticals. So if I marked anything critical in my templates, or I can come in afterwards and mark it critical. Let's mark that one critical. And then we'll just say, show me all my criticals. And it'll pop up all the tasks with a critical marker here. So just unclick that, it goes back to your regular view. Okay, so this is one that people miss a lot. A lot of times these are collapsed. This is the best view for while you're working a transaction. But if you ever need to go in and see like, who was this assigned to, or why was it assigned to this person, or what tags are on here, I need to change a tag, you can click this and it's going to give you a bigger view. Now, it does make you scroll a lot more to go through all these, so most people keep this collapsed. The one thing you can do is come over to your global settings here. And once you, oops, sorry about that. Okay, once I click on global settings, I can go to my task settings. And I can say, do I want it to be full or do I want it to be collapsed? And you can pick what you prefer. So,
hey, Andrew, keep in mind, if they do have them all rolled up, they can individually toggle them open by clicking the little caret icon next to the task.
Yeah, good point. So if I want them fully displayable here, but I also just want this one rolled up, I can just click this. Or if I have them all collapsed, I can just click this to just open one. This is important, especially if you're using FollowBoss and you want to assign a task over to an agent. You can click on this and it's kind of hidden down here. So if you do want to assign this to an agent over on FollowBoss, you'll have to open that up first before you click on it. Okay, so let's go down to the second row here. I showed you that one. This one is going to be, what do I want to see? Just my active. That's most prevalent in this situation. You're just going to want to see what you have to do. But if you do want to see something that was already completed, you can jump over to completed. And it's going to show me all my tasks. And if I want to bring one of those back, like here was that admin fetus sky slope. So that was why that one wasn't showing. I can uncheck that. I'm going to go back over to my active tasks. And now you can see that task pop back in. Okay. Here you can sort them by scheduled and unscheduled. You can also sort them by user sorted. So if you want to move these around, you can go to user sorted. And then you can put them in your own order. I prefer them to be in the order that I have to do them, but if you didn't want it that way for some reason, you could come down and move that down here. I'm going to go back to scheduled and unscheduled. And then you always have your pinned ones on top. So if you want to pin them, you can stick this pin on them. If it's something important to remember that you want to see every day when you get into this transaction, you can always click this little pin and it's going to put it up here in this pin tasks. All the scheduled stuff is going to be here. And then all the unscheduled tasks will be down here. So I don't have a date on these for whatever reason. So they're going to fall at the bottom. Now, some of these become important. That's like, well, I don't know the date yet, but I do want to keep an eye on what's going on. You can always say appraisal scheduled. I want to pin that to the top. And now that appraisal schedule just got pinned to the top there. Okay. If you want to filter your tasks.
We just had a couple of questions here. I want to knock them out since we're all kind of in the same section here.
Sure.
Just to clarify, Amy Gaskin had a question about trying to show the completed and scheduled tasks seen by side. So we don't have that particular option, show it side by side, but we do have the option to, like as you were showing in that menu, where you can go between completed, scheduled tasks, things like that. So completed will have its own, deleted will have its own, and scheduled will be in here with a pinned, scheduled, and unscheduled. So a couple different views, but I just wanted to clarify that they won't be seen side by side.
And that's a good point. I didn't hit the options button. This is kind of an important one. If you want to delete out one of your task templates, you can delete all your earnest money tasks at one time. So everything in that template that came in, you can delete all those out at one time. Or if you just want to start fresh, delete out all your tasks and reapply templates, you can do that here.
And then we did have somebody ask about that messenger tab. I don't know if you want to touch on that now, later, or if you want to talk about that at all.
Yeah, let's wait on. I'll at the very end, I'm going to let you guys in since you came and actually attended the webinar. I'm going to show you some new features that we have on the program, and the messenger tab is definitely one of those that's going to, we hope, revolutionize the way you do business. So you're not searching through 200 emails in your inbox for the rest of your life. Anything else, Matthew?
Nope, sounds good. Go ahead.
Okay. So let's go back here. We just touched on the scheduled and unscheduled and user sorted. So you do have that flexibility. Now, if I want to filter and just see everything with the name, something with appraisal in it, I can start typing that and it's going to just pop up that filter. And that way it's easier to find. So you're like, I know that Sky Slope is in here somewhere, but I just cannot find it for the life of me. Just start typing it and it'll pop right up. Okay. So that's the menu board here. You have a lot of different choices. Now, actually in the tasks here, you have a couple different things. So due is going to be due or past due. So this one was due on June 29th. So obviously this is a lot past due. So that's going to show in red that this is urgent to get to. And then you're going to have the 1 day. So anything due tomorrow is going to be 1. And so we call it due 1, 2. So it's due today or past due in 1 day, due in 2 days. And that's going to color code your bar up here. So this way, when you're over in the either in this or over in your property screen, you're gonna have a little bar to tell you what's important here to touch on. And if you have a bunch of red, you can just click them and add them to this little queue. This isn't part of this webinar, but let me just show you, since this is a newer feature that a lot of people aren't using. You can click these and now you can cycle through these. So these are the 4 things that I have due today. I wanna go through, I wanna see the properties, so I can just cycle through. It's gonna open up that property and I can cycle through to the next property and cycle through the next property. Now, if I wanted to tackle the health bar, I could just hit that and hit next, and it's going to pop open that health bar over and over. We have someone in Wisconsin. I believe that he is completing his day by noon now, instead of taking all day on his task by using this feature right here. So, and I think there's a Facebook post on that if anyone wants to see it. Okay, so let me jump back in here and we'll go to my task menu. Now you can preset which one this opens up to. So if I went in my global settings, I can preset this to always open up tasks. So I don't have to switch off the messenger every time I get in here. Or if I wanted to open up my documents, I can preset it to come to my documents automatically. Okay, so let's take a look at these. Told you about due 1, 2. We also have the ability to make it a parent-child relationship. We have the ability to color code this on a one-off basis. Now, I would probably do these in the templates, but maybe you have some other kind of 2 people assigned to this task, and when one person looks at it and they can't do it and they want the other person to do it, maybe they color code it red, something like that. There's a lot of different options you can come up with in a team concept where you can utilize these to your advantage. Now, if you click on this button, you can change the date of it to a specific date. So if this got delayed a day, I can come in here and just hit this, choose the new day, and now it'll be updated. Now, over on this side, this gets pretty interesting over here. Now you can exclude it from the agent or client's view. You can also put a note on it. So actually, let me just click on one of the ones that already has a note on it. And it'll pop up in your note. And that may be for if you're working in a team, you may leave a note for the next person on why you couldn't do that task or whatever. Pinned, we talked about pinned, how it's going to pin it to this top menu. Critical. We talked about that, how this is a critical task that you want to keep track of, and you can always come in here and you can also sort over in your task pipeline, which I'll show you here at the end. Now, this is a button that's so underutilized in the program, and I think it's one of the most important buttons that you could actually set up. Internal details. Now, you would do this over in the templates, but what you could do is say, this is how you do this task, and you could actually make an SOP or a standard operating procedure manual here. You could say, here's how you do this task. You need to go to this website. You need to, whatever, click on this video, click on this audio recording of how to do it. click on our operations manual, or just an explanation of how to do it in here. And so when you update this, this is going to be here. So if this, let's say you have a VA working on this file and they come in here and they don't know how to do this task, now they can click on internal details and see exactly how to do this task. So it's good for not getting calls to the team leader constantly about, I forget how to do this, or how do we approach this? Everything will be in there. Okay. Date options. This is if you want to change your date options in here. So you could do a specific date. You could also do based on a property date, like we showed you over in the templates, 3 business days after, after, oh geez. Okay, there we go. After contract acceptance, and then weekend rolls, skip federal holidays, all that good stuff. So if I update this, now it's going to update. Now, one of the other things you can do in here is when you click on your date options, you can also do per the task. So when this task is checked off, I want this task to happen 2 days after that. So just like we saw over. Complete this task when you hit the update button. That button is there. And then we also have the triggers. So if you want to edit your triggers, which we're going to get into.
Hey, Andrew, go back, open up that box again. The complete after task is done.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So complete task after update. Yeah, I'm not sure if you're going to hit on this. Let me just pinpoint this here. If you go down to assign a specific close date, that's super important because you may close this task right now, but let's say that you're working on a Saturday and you're like, you know what? I don't want things to get out of sync. I actually should close this on a Monday, but I'm going to close it on a Saturday. You can actually assign the close date and say, well, I'm actually closing this as if though I'm closing it on a Monday, which means this task will get a close date of Monday, not today, not Saturday. And that way all your other tasks will be in reference to Monday and not Saturday. Super important just so you stay in sync. Because if I were to close this, let's say it's Saturday, close today, any task that's in relationship to this task would get a date that's in reference to the close date, not Monday. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's an awesome feature that I apologize for not going into that deeper. That's actually really important. A lot of people have wanted that for a long time of, I'm working on a Saturday and I want this to actually show closed on Monday. So all my other tasks can be due on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So thanks for putting that in there, Shane. Okay. Recurring. Obviously, you can make a task recurring. I was just testing some of this out last night. Worked really well. You can reopen this on a specific date. So when I check this task off, I want it to, maybe 1 day before closing or something like that. You can put a date in here, or you can say how many days after the task is closed do I want this to reopen. So that runs once a night, and then those things will pop in. So if you hit it, if you check off this task and you don't see it automatically appear in your task list, that's because it only runs once a night. You'll see it pop in by the next morning. And then you have the delete button. I'll show you why delete is important here coming up. I use delete for decision points. So you may have a decision point. Actually, we'll just get into it right now. The client wants a warranty. Client does not want a warranty. If the client doesn't want a warranty, I'm going to click off this button as completed, and then I'm going to delete the one that the client wants a warranty. So I use these as decision points. If the client wants a warranty, then what's going to happen? I want the task template for warranty items to come in that I have to complete. I have an email going out to the client saying, here's how you choose your warranty. Here are the people we recommend. All those things you would typically do for that. And then I also have an email going out to let the escrow company know, hey, we have a warranty on this. Don't put the settlement statement together without getting to me and getting that amount so that we can get that on the settlement statement before this closes. So you can have a ton of them in here. It doesn't just have to be 3. Now, if you're on the premium package, you're going to get 3 triggers per task. If you want more than that, you'd have to upgrade to the premium add-on, where then you're going to have unlimited triggers in here. I think actually it's a 999 limit. If you're putting 999 things on here, you have issues. So here we go. So these decision points you can really make for anything where it comes to a point where your TC has to make a decision on which way do I want to go with this file. This is a good way to do it, but you do have to train them. The one that they don't do, don't click off of this if they don't want a warranty, because it's going to trigger all those things to happen. You're going to want to delete it. So, okay. So those decision points. Let me take a look. Let's get into triggers now. So let's just open up one of these triggers. Let me see which one.
Before we jump into triggers, I just want to try and knock out this question. It was regarding the recurring with these tasks. They want to know, does it come back with the original due date, where it's fixed on that whenever that was originally due, or is that something that pushes forward into it's now due in 5 days because it's recurring? That's when it was recurring.
Yeah, so it's going to be due in 5. Once you check off this one, if this one was recurring, then it's going to come back with the new date that you told it 5 days after, or the specific date that you can put in there. Yeah. Okay, so triggers. You can see I have 11 triggers on this one. You can see you can get really creative. I mean, this is due 170 calendar days after this fake field that I had. So you're not limited to like 10 days, 15 days. You can get really creative with these dates and make them contingent upon a different things. Okay, so let's take a look at these triggers right here. So in creating a new trigger, one of the things you're going to want to do is just hit add trigger. You want to decide what you're doing here. So when the task is complete or when it's not complete, when do I want these things to trigger off? So let's just say the task is complete in this example. And then you can come down here and you can say, I want to send an email. And then you just add it. Now, when you add it, it's going to be off. So this button's going to be toggled off just so you don't accidentally trigger something that you're still working on. You can come in here. You can set the email. You can actually type in. Now, if you're typing an individual email, you should be doing that over in your email templates. In my opinion, everything should be in a template. So you come in here, you apply your template that you've already written. So if you get to a point where you have a new email, go create that email template. Go put it into the task template, and then just apply that task template so that everything's coming in correctly. So it's going to give me a list of all my email templates. I'm going to apply that template. It's going to let me know that it did apply that template. You can choose here, use property default send from address. So whoever is the assigned email on this. So if you have VAs sending off emails for you, it's coming from your email. It's not going to come from their email. Okay, now that that's in there, I believe this was the one I was in. Yeah, you can turn that on. You can open it up. Now, when you open it up, you may not have all the features that we have on here. So it just depends on what plan you're on. When this task is complete, it's going to send this email. Now, do I want it to send automatically or do I want it to queue up to my health bar? If I want it to queue up to my health bar, trigger will be queued. That's good. If I want it sent automatically, you're going to toggle this over. Now, keep in mind, if this is an email with a ton of smart blocks and a ton of merge fields, there's a lot of liability there. I wouldn't be sending this off automatically. The use case for sending automatically that I've found to be the best is like the sign went up in the yard. You're doing a listing, the sign goes up. You want to send an automatic text message out to the agent saying 123 Main Street, signs in the yard. Nothing's going to go wrong there. Even if the agent gets it in an untimely manner, you can call them and say, hey, sorry, that accidentally went out. You're not going to use this sent to the buyer with 15 smart blocks, 20 merge fields that you may not even have filled in. It's really dangerous to use this send automatically in that case. Now, this is on the premium add-on. You won't have this option on the regular premium plan. So most of the time you're going to see this off. And let me give you an example of how that works. Okay. So if I come over here and I don't know what these triggers are, we've been kind of playing around with these for a while, but let me just do the client wants a warranty. So if I check this off, now those triggers are going to fire. And you're going to go up here to find them to send them. You don't go into best practice is not going in here and saying send. You want to hit the task is completed, then come up here. And then those tasks are going to be, and I don't have context loaded, so it's not going to come in right. But here's the email that was in there. Let escrow know about the warranty. It's going to come up here. Now I can inspect this, take a look at. So if I inspect this email, it's going to tell me I don't have any contacts in here. It already told me that out here. So I got to load some contacts. Here's the email message, and I don't have anything written in there in the content of it, but that would be here as well. So let me go down to an email where it actually has some information in there and see. Let me see if this one does. Okay. So this one's sending to the right people. There's no subject in there. I'm going to have to fix that. And there's just one little line in here. If I had any attachments, they'd be listed here as well. And if I have any missing merge fields or smart blocks, it's also going to be listed in red so you don't accidentally mess that up. Now, if I wanted to come in here and let's just say my merge field for closing date is not filled out, I can say edit fields. I can type in closing. It's It's going to pop up. Oh, I don't have a closing date. Let me say acceptance date because I think that's in here. So I just type in acceptance. There's my acceptance date. I can come in here and change it. Click off that, refresh it, and now I'm right back in the same screen without having to go all the way back over to my fields. Now, if you want to edit this and like say happy birthday, you can also hit like edit. You have like a little one-off message that's not going to be in your template. You can edit it. It's going to pull this up, and I can say, and then I can go ahead and send it. So a lot of different options in here. But when you do check these off.
Oh, just really quickly on that edit screen, just a really important detail I've seen come up before is that if you do decide to edit the email, I just want people to keep in mind that it's going to fully render out that email. So if there might be maybe some missing merge fields that you haven't updated yet before going to edit it, you will have to manually add that information in, because at that point there are no more merge fields. Everything's been rendered out. So if you go update the merge field, come back to that edit screen, it's like, wait, I just added this new information. Why isn't that in there? But that would be why. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, great feedback. Thanks. Okay, so when you're in this queue, there's a bunch of different things, but most of the time you're going to be on priorities. That's what we're going to focus on today is the priorities. These are the things that are due right now because you just checked this off and you had a trigger in there that said, when this task is complete, I want to send this email, or I want to send this text message, or I want to add this template, or whatever that is. So you come up here, you have the email here, you inspect it, you like it, you send it, boom, it pops out of here and you go on to the next one. Now, one thing, let's say you're working on Saturday, 8 o'clock at night. You don't want this email to go out Saturday at 8 o'clock at night. You want to schedule it. You come down to this one, same deal. You want to schedule this one for later. You can go ahead and click both of those. Now you have set schedule on 2 of them. You can click this. You can pick a day to set for it to go out, and you can pick a time for it to go out. And then, yes, go ahead and schedule these for that day and time. And now these are going to fly out of the system on maybe Monday at 8 o'clock in the morning instead of Saturday at 11 o'clock at night, or whatever time you're working. Okay. Matthew, anything else on this screen that we should touch on that you can think of?
I guess the one thing I would clarify is the ability to schedule the emails. Some people look for it within the task trigger itself. You won't find the scheduling option there. You would want to complete that task, push it to the health bar queue, and then that's where you have that option for scheduling out those emails.
Yeah, perfect. And those scheduled emails are going to disappear from here, and they're going to go into your scheduled box, on your email component. So don't look for them here. Okay.
Really quickly on the scheduling email, a couple of people were asking what level of account has access to these scheduled emails to be functionality.
I believe that's a premium add-on, so it's an extra $99 per team per month. Yeah. Okay. Again, so that task template, I actually applied a task template by checking off one of these. So I checked off a task, and a task template came in. So you can always go here and look, and this one was the one that I brought in. So add SkySlope to admin fee. I probably have 2 of them in here somewhere, but that came in. So it's a good way to do, like, if you don't want 1,000 tasks on here right from the beginning, let's just say your average task list is 200 tasks long, and you just don't want to be cluttering up your screen with all that. What you can do is say, hey, when I check off inspection, well, maybe not inspection because every transaction wouldn't have an inspection, but something that happens on every transaction, when I click this one, go ahead and add in another template for my signing tasks and my closing tasks and my post-closing tasks. But I don't want those to come in until I'm at least far enough. Maybe it's after the appraisal or some stage like that. Okay, so that is task triggers. Let's answer some questions. Maybe I can go deeper into some things for people. Matthew, if you want to kind of shoot some questions at us.
Sure, yeah, we've got a couple here coming up.
And then we'll show the task pipeline after that. Remind me before we go too much further to show that task pipeline and how that works.
Yep, we'll do. So Candy here had a question asking if we can go back and edit the details from the initial intake form after it's been approved.
No.
But depending on the goal there, I mean, I'd say yes. If you're trying to update the value for fields that were submitted, then you would just go into that appropriate field and adjust those. So I don't know if that's exact goal or question there, but that would be something you could do. If those fields are hidden, you just can't find it, you might need to go to manage your fields. And if you want to just let it real quick, you just go in here. Maybe it's something that was hidden when it came over for review and approval. You just come in here and you can enable those as needed.
So there you go. And there's the peanut butter one that I just put in there. So, Yeah, no, that's
so-
good. Now on intake forms, let me just touch on that real quick.
Mhm.
Once the intake form, now we are working on some advanced features right now so that you have the ability to have some more triggers based off these fields. So if I select a field or if I change this field, certain things can happen after the transaction. We'll be releasing some of that in the future, but we're testing that now and it's working really well.
Perfect. So we had done going back to the tasks. Is there a way to sort them in date due order? So I believe there is the two different ways you can, however you want to sort these. If you want to just maybe touch on that.
Yeah. So just go to scheduled and unscheduled. And let's just pretend that you don't have any pinned here. So let me just uncheck these pins. So this is the way it would be. July 2nd, November 1st, November 4th. They're all in order by the date that they're due. Now that is going to be your scheduled and unscheduled. As soon as you go over to user sorted, now you can pull them around and pull them whatever direction you want.
Yeah, I mean, so I believe the default, unless you adjust it, would be, anything that's pinned is going to be pinned to the top no matter what. Then it goes into the scheduled task by due date, and then unscheduled below that.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly.
And then it looks like some people might not have that scheduled email option. If that is the case, maybe let's have you guys reach out to support. We could dig into your specific account details a little bit more and see what might be going on there.
Oh, this scheduled, are they talking about this button right here?
Yes.
You would have to be on the premium add-on. So if you are on the premium add-on and you don't have this, contact support. If you're not on the premium add-on, you will not have this option. That's an advanced option.
Okay, there you go. So then there's a question here from Lucy. Is there a way for a task to be marked off complete automatically when a certain condition is met, such as check for closing statement task, automatically complete task when the closing statement file role is present? You can go
no.
No, I pretty much no. With those ones, when you're going to mark that task is complete, it will require clicking the checkbox there.
Yeah, you'd have to click the checkbox on task. Now, when you get over to advanced features and you get onto a higher plan and you want to go triggers, now you have some cool things on triggers where you can say, if this field is this, if this field is this, if this document exists and this, the lender exists, then go ahead and automatically do these things. So triggers is really the way to automate your files. It is a higher plan. It is a higher charge. Right now we're on a free for that. So everyone's just getting to test it out for free. But in the future, we will be turning on the paywall for that so that you will pay per file that you have triggers turned on. So, and it's an all or nothing. You turn it on, it's for every single file that you open, or, don't turn it on and you don't get charged extra for them.
Awesome. Okay. And so Birdie had a question here. At the bottom of each task shows FollowBoss, but she does not have FollowBoss. Is there a way to remove that?
You won't have FollowBoss on there unless you have the API connected. So in this case, in this example, I do have an API connected for FollowBoss, and that's why it shows up.
Awesome. Sorry, we got a lot of questions coming in here. Just trying to work our way through it.
Yeah.
With the marketplace templates, she's also asking if she's able to edit those. Obviously, you'll be able to edit the global ones that you would download, but once you download that into your account, those become your templates at that point, and then you should be able to make any of the adjustments once it's been loaded in.
Yeah. So here's marketplace. Click on that. If you want task templates, email templates, text templates, you can bring this in. You can import it. If you just want to see them, a lot of people are importing, realizing they don't like it and having to delete all that out. You don't need to do that. Just click on this. It's going to give you a basic list of all the different tasks in this list. And then you can say, okay, I do want to import it, or no, I do not want to import it. So I've seen a lot of people do that.
Okay.
Andrew, several people are asking about triggers, charging for them. And no, the answer is no. What Andrew was referring to is if you'll open up a transaction, if you click on triggers, this is a completely different plan. The base plan allows you to have task triggers. There is no additional charge for task triggers, but where there is an additional charge for if you want to upgrade your plan is for the trigger tab. The trigger tab functionally acts as a listening device that performs automation for you so that you don't have to do anything functionally. So let's say, for instance, if you look at that task that has a blinking circle on it, this task here will listen to changes inside of your transaction and will do whatever you tell it to do. So let's say that the year built was equal to 1976. If that's true, then this task will send emails, it will add fields, it'll send text messages, it'll make your breakfast, it'll do whatever it is that you want it to do. And that is what the trigger system outside of tasks, that's what we're charging for in the future. We don't have any charge on it right now. We're offering it to users to play around with, to see if it's a good fit for your business. So just keep that in mind. Task triggers and property triggers that you see underneath the trigger tab are completely different applications altogether.
Yeah, sorry, I should have mentioned that. So you have a couple different types of triggers. You have intake form triggers. Those come with the plan. You have task triggers, which you get 3 of those per task. And then you have automated triggers or property triggers. And those are the selection. So do I want to send an email? Do I want to send a text? Now, these are the 2 options you have right now. We're testing some other things right here. Do you want to add or remove a template? Do you want to add or remove a field section, add or remove a field? So I added one down here for an email. Now I can come in here and say, when do I want to send it? Do I want to send it immediately? Or do I want to send it on a certain day and time, like 3 days before close of escrow at 8 a.m.? You can set that up. And then you can also put conditions. Only send this email if the escrow officer exists. The price of the house is over 300. The inspection period is under 10 days. Like, you can get very advanced with these. Some of mine in my own personal account, I have 15 to 17 conditions on whether this email, text, or whatever is going to be sent out. Now, these don't send automatically either. They pop up here and they pop up and say 1 trigger ready, 2 trigger ready, 3 trigger ready, whatever. And you can keep track of that also in this tab. If you come up here, these in process aren't ready yet. As soon as this becomes true, it's going to pop up into my either immediate or scheduled. If I scheduled it for 3 days before close, it'll be here. If I said send it immediately upon all these things being true, then it's going to pop up here for you to review, similar to the health bar here.
There is a caveat on that, though. If it's a listening trigger, as that one with the blank, it never moves out of in process because it's always listening for changes.
Yeah, exactly. Now, one thing I can tell you about triggers, and I don't want to go too deep on this, we'll have a whole nother webinar on this, but I've changed my whole business from task-based to trigger-based. So I don't want my TCs going in and have to check tasks off for every single transaction. I want it just to pop up and tell them when it's ready to do. Yeah, I mean, talk about efficiency. We're knocking off an extra 3 to 5 hours per transaction just using these automated triggers. But I don't want to go too far into that. Let's stay on topic here a little bit. This is probably a good point, Matthew. I'll just touch on this real quick. Here's the task pipeline. Now you can come in here, and these are like filters, basically. We call them snapshots, but basically think of it as a filter where you can come in here and say, show me all my past due, things due in 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, whatever. This address, or you don't have to put an address in here, by this team. So you can sort it by team. You can do by what color is on it, what tag is on it, if it's critical. And then once you get this set up and it filters down your tasks to just what you're looking for, if you're going to constantly be looking at this filter, you just come in here and say, create a snapshot. You create a snapshot of what you've created. And now in the future, they'll all be listed here. So you don't have to go through that process every single time. You can say, show me all my tasks due in the next 7 days. I don't have any. Let me see. Critical. I don't have any. Some of these are old. So, but anyway, if you click on these and actually something fits that filter, it will pop up with those tasks. So there you go. I changed it, but everything with pink and past due. And so there you go. So this is a really efficient way if you're time blocking tasks. You can use this. You can use the virtual whiteboard, or you can just use the task screen natively through going to the properties, figuring out which ones have red on them, and just clicking down through the red. And if you are going to do it this way, I would advise using that queue to add these properties to the queue so that you can just filter through these quickly. Knock off all these tasks, go to the next one, knock off all these tasks, go to the next one. It's a very efficient way to run your business. All right, Matthew, you got some more questions?
Yeah, we got a few here. So let me jump to this one here. Stacey Thompson, she's wondering if there's a way to add color to your intake form without clicking on each field one at a time, talking about the property detail fields. So as far as I know, that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, that's not something you'd be able to do from the default intake form. It would be something you would do once it's actually been submitted and you have that transaction in front of you, correct?
Yeah, something we're looking into in the future is putting on the field editor saying, if the answer to this field is yes, turn it green. If the answer is no, turn it red. We don't have that built out right now. We don't have a timeline on it, but that is the goal for the future.
Excellent, excellent. So then we have here Kylie Williams. How do we make the field stay showing once the agent fills out the intake form if they bypass that field? She's noticed that it is hidden and they have to turn on a bunch of fields back on. So I would say that one, Kylie, you might actually be, it might be beneficial to have you reach out to support. What I'm thinking might be happening is that there are, when you look at the agent intake forms and look at the fields, there's a left side and a right side. And this seems to kind of throw some people off, where the left side is what you see when the form is initially being filled out, as Andrew's showing there. The right side is what you'll actually see once it's been pushed over for review and approval. And I've definitely seen some weird stuff where you might have triggers set for a certain field, but when it gets pushed over to you, that field isn't showing. The system's not going to be able to find it, doesn't know what that value is going to be, that trigger won't activate. Yeah. So it's really important to know the difference between those two sides. If you are, one of my general preferences that if you're going to be showing a field to the agent, or very much so if you are making it required, you usually want to have that showing on your side. Well, it's kind of one of those, what's the point of asking them and requiring them to give you this answer, but you're not even going to see it on your side. So that's why I'd at least advise marking it as a green, so it's going to be visible when it comes over to you.
And the red is going to be required by your TC to either check or fill out if the agent, for some reason, you have like this unchecked over here. The agent can see this field, but they're not required to fill it out. But when it comes to the TC, you want this field to be required. You can check that box. So.
Absolutely. And then usually if you're requiring at that point, I don't think it's going to be a necessary equivalent requirement, since it already has that value. System will say, okay, well, the question's been answered. So that's
another good reason to use triggers. So you can say, anytime, let me hit this conditions button to pop these out so you can see the conditions, but anytime my agent says, yes, there's septic, well, now I want a trigger to bring in all my septic tasks, my septic documents, my septic field sections. And so now that stuff will appear on your side as well. All right. What else you got, Matthew?
Awesome. All right. Let's keep checking through these. Well, Teresa, she had a question. If you make a change to transaction dates and have already dropped in a task template, would that automatically change the date on the tasks dropped into the file, or would you have to go in and manually change those? And that's going to depend. If you have the task set up with a manual due date, then you'll have to just manually update those. But if you have, say, the date calculations plugged into the task that says 5 days after the acceptance date, and you update the acceptance date, it should then trickle down and update the task as well. So when you update that date, it's going to go look for anything connected to it. So if you want to show right there, 3 business days after the contract acceptance date.
This is send opening emails 3 business days after contract acceptance. I'm going to switch this contract acceptance to, let's just make it a month so we can update that. Now my date template in there is also going to update all these dates. So my earnest money is 2 business days after contract acceptance. So that updated, this updated. And now my send opening emails is right here. It's this one, 3 business days after. And you can see it changed it all the way to December 6th now instead of, and I may have a weekend roll on this or something. And that's why it's not exactly 3 days, but 3 business days. Sorry. So it moved it out to December 6th now automatically.
Perfect.
If I change this back, just change it to October 1st, update that. It's going to reconfigure these dates, and it's also going to pop that send opening emails up to October 6th now.
Awesome. Yep, I think that'll cover that. So related to it would be Amy asking had a question about what causes tasks to be unscheduled. Is that something within the settings that needs to be updated? So again, that is going to be related here. If it's unscheduled, it just doesn't have a due date. If that means you haven't plugged in any date calculations, that should populate that for you. You need to manually plug in the date. So in this case, you'll see he has an unscheduled task. He's going to manually plug it in, and that's going to switch it from being unscheduled. You might have to refresh the page, but it's going from unscheduled to a scheduled task. And that's one way to do it. If you have date calculations in there and it's not populating a due date, usually what I start looking for is what is it based off of? What's the date that is supposed to be there? Because if there's not a date for what it's based on, it'll still be unscheduled because it hasn't been able to calculate that due date.
Yeah, you'll see your calculations right here. If you don't have a calculation, it probably means that you just have it based off just a specific date.
Yeah.
Yep. What was the first part of that question, Matthew? There was something else I think I wanted to touch on there. Oh, unscheduled. So the one thing I did want to say is it really depends on your state and your date templates and that sort of thing. Some states, I believe New Jersey, maybe, they don't have a lot of set dates in the contract. So a lot of their things are unscheduled, and then they're filtering out by other calculations, or sometimes they just leave them unscheduled. Some of them will pin them to the top so they see them when they have a date for it, like, hey, the attorney's going to get back to us on such and such a date. They'll go ahead and fill that date in. So really depends on your state you're in. In Arizona, where I'm at, everything is very well defined. We'll have a date. If I use tasks still, I would have a date on 99% of the items in this list.
Cool. So I've seen a couple of different people mention this. There might be some sort of UI glitch or something where the FollowBoss, the add to FollowBoss is still showing even if they don't have the API set up. I just made a note for myself. I'll take a look into that, and then we can take a closer look, see what might be going on there.
Okay. If not, just ignore it. You know, if you don't have FollowBoss, don't worry about it. It's not going to do anything.
Again, I know we're running a little bit low on time here. Somebody did mention about that messenger section in there again.
Yeah, so we'll continue on. If you guys are willing to stay on, if anyone has time, I'll go ahead and tackle that after we answer the task questions. But I'll stay on longer than an hour. And Matthew, if you need to jump off, you feel free. I can handle this on my own if we need to.
Okay. I'm trying to scan through these. Some of them overlap a little bit with the people can ask.
I found one here while you're looking through. Yep. One of them was, should I have one task list or should I have a bunch of little task lists? Yeah, I would go little task list because you don't know what that transaction is going to have. Now you can trigger it by the intake form. You can say, if they said, yes, there's an appraisal on this transaction, bring in all my tasks that have to do with appraisal. Bring in all my fields that have to do with appraisal. Bring in all my documents that have to do with appraisal. If there's no appraisal on that and they say no, you don't want those to come in and clutter up your workflow here. So have your base have your base tasks that come in for every single transaction, and then have little task templates that add on depending on the scenario. That's the best way to do it that I've seen.
Awesome. Just trying to catch up here. We got a little bit of a backlog of questions. With those premium features that we've been talking about, if there's something that you guys think you should have but you don't have, I'm going to say go ahead and just reach out to support on that so we can take a look. Because there is the premium plan. There's a premium plan add-on, and then the fully automated add-on, which is what you would see for the trigger section inside of this transaction, the property trigger specifically. So again, not the task triggers, not the intake form triggers, stuff like that.
Hey, Matthew, why don't you get organized on questions? Maybe just make a note or something of a couple of them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show them one of the features right now. We'll jump back into questions and I'll show them another upcoming feature.
Okay, sure. Let me just answer this one real quick for Dana. She was asking a question about the triggers connected to agents, where it says, if so-and-so is present, use the smart block. Will that be an extra cost? That is a bit different. That is with smart blocks. It's kind of one of the benefits of smart blocks is using that conditional logic. Only insert this, and I think of the smart blocks as advanced merge fields. It only bring in this information for the smart block if this condition is true. Not really an extra cost on that necessarily. Maybe a limitation on how many.
Yeah, you get 25 smart blocks. There's no limitation on how they're used. If you're on the upgraded premium add-on, you're going to get unlimited smart blocks, which as you get more advanced with the system and you really want to automate your system, those smart blocks are gold. So I have probably 100 smart blocks in mine that I've just added to over time. I say, oh, I had to actually type that in the email. Let's make it a smart block and let's put some conditions on it for when this actually comes in. And so this is more of you kind of work through it. You start with a couple and then you kind of work through it through transactions and add those. Have your TCs write down on a little steno pad every time something takes them more than a minute or two. At the end of the week, try to time block an hour or 2 hours and go automate those things. After about 10, 20 transactions, the system really starts humming. So, and we'll do a full, I think that's going to be probably the next webinar is merge fields, smart blocks. I think that was the second highest votes on what people wanted to see. So probably be doing that within a week or so. All right, documents. Let me show you some new things to documents. For all the TC workflow users, you're going to be familiar with this. For anyone not coming from TC workflow user or from TC workflow, maybe your old system had this, maybe it didn't, but we're adding this back into enhanced documents. So now you have a main file. So if there's a file in here, it's going to show a paperclip. If there is additional files, which we're adding, it's going to show a number here. So actually there's two files in this. There's one main file and one additional file. We also added, so right now when you select a file role, it's going to change the name of that document to your file role. Some people said, nah, I don't really want that. So we have the ability in the global settings now for you to turn that feature off. So even if you set a file role on it for earnest money receipt, it doesn't change the name of that document to earnest money receipt. I prefer it. A lot of people don't. So we just wanted to accommodate everyone in that aspect. As far as these additional files go, you can click in here. I can see the main file, and then I can click over here to see my additional files. And you have a couple things. You can exclude these from the client's view. You can also reset this as the main file. So right now the main file is 123 West Boise. Let me go ahead and make this the default. It's going to swap these. And now this is the default. And if I come over here to additional files and I clicked on this, it's going to be what was previously in our default here. So a lot of things you can do with these. Let me actually check into one that has more than one. Let's go into this one. You can move these. You can, let me show you on these. I can send these to Google Drive. If you don't have that automatic upload on there, you can change the color of these. You can move them. So if I want to move them, I can hit the move button and I can say, let's move them over to contract docs and let's put them in the file, I don't know, counteroffer number 1. Move these files. And now they just moved over to counteroffer 1. So you see there's 2 files in here. You can merge. You can split. A lot of different options on this documents. We'll do a whole webinar on documents just so you can see, but we did add quite a bit more functionality in here as well. So let's go in here. You can still hit this down, split, split it, download it, delete it. If you have SkySlope hooked up here, SkySlope will be an option there. So a lot of different features on docs. The other feature that we're looking at right now, I'm sorry. One other big main point to bring in about this. One of the things TC Workflow users wanted was the ability to preset file roles. Preset file roles. So the problem we had was when you set a file role, there's a lot of automation that happens with that file role. It could be automatically attaching this document to an email. It could be triggering a text message to go out. There's a lot of automation around these file roles. So what we did now in the global settings was there's a toggle and you can say, if I set the file role, if it has a file in here, go ahead and set off the automation. If it doesn't have a file in here, like this grayed out one, do not set off the automation. So you have some features now where you can go and set up all your file roles to save those clicks in your document templates. But if there's no file in the main file, it's not going to trigger that automation. So Shane, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, just answering some questions here. What was your question again?
No, I was just kind of going over documents and showing additional files and everything. Also, the ability to take off that broker. A lot of people have requested that. Now you can hide that broker, that BR here.
Yep. So they can hide BR. The additional files, toggling. You may just want to go into the global settings really quick.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, so there's a few things that are coming down the pipe here. I click on default. So for your entire organization, the first one here is trigger file role conditions. So there's a lot of people that don't use file roles, they don't upload files into open and close, but they do want the functionality around file roles being applied. So this one here says, should trigger file role conditions be processed if the file placeholder, which has a condition of the file role applied, does not contain a digital file, such as a PDF.
That's what I was just showing you guys.
Oh, gotcha.
With the paperclip, the dark paperclip means there's a file in there. The grayed out paperclip means there's not a main file in there. And that's what this global setting is about.
Yep. So that'll fire or not fire based upon that setting. So the next one down here is rename the main file. So if you upload a file into the main file placeholder, yes, I want to rename it based upon the file role. If that's off, it won't rename it. It'll keep the same name of the file that was uploaded. Now in the additional files, rename all additional files if a parent file role is applied or modified. So if you change the file role, do you want to update the main file? And you also want to traverse down and also update the additional files. So it will do whatever you tell it to do. If you want to rename all files based on the file role, and let's say the document's called, the file role is earnest money deposit, it will rename all of them the earnest money deposit. Now, the cool thing about this is that it updates it inside the system, but if you also have the property and the document synced with Google Drive, it will also traverse all of those files as well and update those for you automatically. So those are big ones.
Yeah, that was a big one for Shane to get to work. So hopefully you guys appreciate that one.
Yeah, nobody sees any of these changes because we haven't released them yet. So I've had like 5 or 6 people ask this. So these are not released yet. It will be in our upcoming update. We don't have a specific date yet, but just know these are on the roadmap.
Yeah, we have to test these. We have to test these pretty thoroughly before we release them, or there'll be just an onslaught of support tickets. So we want to make sure these are, 99% good before we release them to you guys, and then you guys can help us perfect these options as we bring them to the public.
Yep. And then that last one, the broker sign button. So if you want to hide that button, it hides it for the entire organization, not just a single file. So if you turn that off, which, we've had a lot of people ask for this to be removed. If you put hide button, that button's completely gone from every transaction, every one sheet, every client portal, agent portal, across the entire system. So just keep that in mind. If you toggle that off, it's gone from everything.
All right. That's docs. And I'm sure there's some other things.
Actually, I'll hop into docs one more time. Let me see here. Inspection, firewall. Oh yeah. Do the collapse. Did you do collapse expand yet?
Oh, no, I didn't. That's a good point. So you can collapse these files. Let's use case. Let's say all these files are good. You've checked them. Everything's uploaded to compliance, and you want to mark it green. That means no one ever has to come in here and say, let me expand these files and make sure. You've already checked these. You can roll them up. I'm sure there's a million use case scenarios for these, but you can exclude the whole folder. A lot of use cases, but yeah, this is a really important one that people don't typically see. If you want to do them all, you can just,
yep, there you go.
And if you want to expand them all, you can do that. Files, if you want to expand the files, you can put the notes. So a lot of people in California like to keep notes on iterations of different files that I've seen. You can expand that or say, let's just collapse them and look at my documents real quick, but it's easy toggle back and forth.
Yeah.
And then you can also come in here and say, let me see my septic template or my well template or my whatever the templates are that came in from the intake forms or that you've manually applied. You can go ahead and select those and just see those.
Yeah. And one thing that's on our roadmap is to be able to filter by the button state. So basically, if you have LA and they're all purple, up in the filter documents, we're also making the option to say, I want to filter by the word earnest money receipt and the color purple on the button LA. So just keep that in mind. I know a lot of people are asking about that from TC Workflow. This is a much different system than TC Workflow. So it's taken us some time to really revise this. So just know, it's on our roadmap. It just hasn't been released yet.
All right. We've been teasing you long enough for the best feature. All right. So Shane has custom built out basically a Slack-like feature for open to close. I prefer this feature over email and text because you're going to be able to come into your transaction and see replies right in your transaction versus going through 200 emails in your inbox. 100 of them are junk. 100 of them are from, multiple properties. This is going to enable you to come in here and say, hey, I need this. You can even select tags. You can, let's put a little smiley face on it so they know we're happy. We're not trying to browbeat them about this. Let's say this is in regard, you don't have to put tags on it, but if you wanted to, you could say, hey, this is about compliance. It's also about closing. And then you can come in here and add files. So I can say add a file. I can come in here. Let me get out all this. Sorry about that. Let me go to this PC desktop. Okay, so here's a PDF. So I can grab a PDF. If I wanted to grab another file, I could put another. You can just list the files in here. You can see right here, Shane put in like 6 files on this one. And then you come down and say, who do I want to send this to? So do I want to send it to the buyer? I want to send it to the buyer's agent. I want to send it to escrow, and I want to send it to the lender. Hit send. This happens pretty quickly. It's going to put those tags on it. It's going to attach the document that you can open up, and it's going to say, what address is this from? And it's going to, now, if they don't have the app where this is a push notification going out to them, it will send them an email. And when they respond to that email, it's going to come back into your message center. So
yeah, this is super important, is that when that message sent out, you have a bunch of users in here. They could be client portal users, agent portal users, other people inside the manager system here. When they send that message and they choose who it goes to, it will go to all of the different platforms that they're on. So it'll go over into, so it'll send them an email. It will also send them a push notification to the mobile app where we're revising the mobile app so they actually have bidirectional communication communication inside there. So they'd be able to get this message, open up the app, and send a message back to you or to whomever it needs to go to based upon their role and their permission. That'll allow them to see certain users. Plus, it will push a notification over to their dashboard in real time. So everything with this messenger is in real time. So there's no delay. There's no having to refresh. So if he sent this to me, I would get it instantaneously on my mobile app as well as to my email and over to my portal. So just keep that in mind.
And over the next year, we'll be working on the ability to make these triggers as well. So maybe a task trigger for a messenger to go out to somebody. So same as email and text. We'll try to incorporate this into some of the automation as well.
Yeah, so functionally, our hope is that this replaces a majority of texting and email so that you can set up automation around this. So functionally, you can have the trigger system constantly listening for changes and then pushing a notification or sending an email or doing whatever, pushing a notification, which will also send out an email. We really think that there's so much diversity of communication where people are having to chase communication everywhere, and being able to bring it back into one centralized location. We fundamentally think that this is a game industry if we can just get adoption through this and people can see the value of having centralized communication.
Yeah, and you're going to get notifications.
If they respond, where does the message show up? It shows up back inside of the messenger, as well as it will ping you via email.
You got the bell here. These are going to be your messages here. So that's in the bell. And then like I was showing you over here in the dashboard, it's going to show you 3 messages in there. So now you don't have to go to your email and search and say, did I receive this? Now you know you received it. It's right here. Over in the properties, you can see that I have one message that I need to take care of in this property. So if I click over in this property and I go into my messenger, there's my new one.
Now, to keep in mind on that messenger badge that's lit up there, if Andrew and I are both working inside the transaction, you'll notice here at the top of that, it says all messages. So let's say I'm Brian and Andrew is Adam West. He can toggle to see all the messages back and forth between me and whomever else I'm communicating with. And that way everybody has, it's a little difficult to understand who sent the message. It's from the person who's logged in. So, in this case, Brian Griffin is the person that sent it. So, Jill, feel free to give us feedback on it. Anywho, so the person so inside the manager here, if you click toggle all messages, you can see all the messages who they're from. Now, over in the client portal, they only see the messages to and from them. So just know this, like you have a lot more visibility inside the manager here compared to the client portal.
Yeah, the client's not going to see every single message that was sent. They're only going to see the messages that they were in on. So
yeah.
Really powerful stuff. If we can get adoption on this, I'm changing my whole team over. So there's going to be a minimal amount of emails and text messages. This is going to replace all that once we get, this built out a little. And when it's released to you guys, we'd love your feedback on this so we can make it even better.
Yep. Let's see here. What else with that messenger? Okay. And you went over the dashboard for the messenger. Oh yeah. Do this real quick. Close that property and go back to the dashboard for the messenger. And so on this, did you go over the tagging on that? So let's say
I went over the tagging on the in the actual property, but I didn't go over here.
Yeah. So let's say that you want to see all the messages that are in reference to closing. This way you can filter this down, and now it's only going to show those messages for closing across all the transactions.
Yep. And then you can say, just show me new messages, show me all the messages, show me ones with this on it. I can clear the filters out. I can send a new message here. You will have to pick your property if you're sending a message from this general inbox, because it doesn't know you're not in the property, to let it know that you're sending it from 123 Main Street. So just a little nuance there. Mm-hmm. Cool. Matthew, any more questions on other stuff now that we kind of gave you some time to sift through?
Yeah, I looked through them all. I feel like we might have addressed most of them. If there is anything that we might have missed, because Shane was already ahead of the game and was answering questions as I was trying to catch up. So okay. We're kind of tackling from both sides. But if there are still any questions out there that are still hanging around, just let us know.
Cool. Sounds good. Well, there's still a ton of people on here. If you have any last questions, go ahead and put them in there. I will stick on here until we don't see a question for, a minute or two, and then we'll jump off if we don't see anything. Thanks for attending.
Yeah, thank you guys. Jennifer, yes, you will be able to send messages from the mobile app. So you can send them specifically from inside of a property, or you have a global inbox. SkySlope, upload to documents to SkySlope. SkySlope limits our capability. You can only upload a document to a cell and not a listing. So if you go into a property, Andrew, do you want to hit a property really quick?
Yeah, I think SkySlope is in this one.
Click on documents. So you should be able to hit that drop down. Yeah.
This one's not attached, but it would say here, add to SkySlope.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the contacts. If you click over to contacts, it's also going to say if this is connected to SkySlope, it's going to say add to SkySlope here.
Yeah. No, we don't have anything on our roadmap for customizing the UI. So.
I got a few questions popping up here. Yes, Bobby, we have this whole thing recorded, so we're going to get that basically just kind of cleaned up, and we'll have that posted to the Facebook group probably within a week. So just keep an eye out there, and you'll be able to get the recording.
Yep, we are going to try to do these regularly and get into more advanced topics after we cover the basic topics. Get into some how you take your team to the next level type stuff after we cover kind of basic merge fields, basic smart blocks, basic tasks, things like that.
Jill, is mass uploading to SkySlope on the map? No, it's not. They make it incredibly difficult to upload. Is there mass downloading from OTC? You can facilitate the API, which will give you access to all the documents inside of there. Not sure if you guys are aware of this. I'm sorry. If you go to opentoclose.com, scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see a link that says API. And inside that API, it gives you functionality that you can tie in with Zapier or API Nation, or you can custom build whatever you want to interface with Open to Close. We have a lot of users that currently use, say, like Jot Forms or Woo Forms or some other kind of system out there, and they want to get data inside of Open to Close. This will enable you to interface with Open to Close from outside sources. Amy, if you go to opentoclose.com, scroll to the bottom and click on API, that will give you access to the API. Now, to generate an API token, maybe you'll show them really quick, Andrew, on this. Click the gear icon, and then click API tokens. This will allow you to generate an API token that which you can use inside of Zapier or whatever API interface you're using.
Yeah.
Awesome. We had a question up here a little bit before, was multiple people on teams and how to address swapping who the email comes from. So I mean, that is where you would switch the access, the main team lead, which I like to think of as the main point of contact. Switching that around is how you would change up the who the system's looking to send those emails from. Do you want to expand a little bit on why it works that way?
You talking about Shane or me?
Shane, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was answering a question. What's that?
Oh, just so with the way the system works, where we have a team that's assigned and all those people on the team have access to it, but to shift who the system is going to be trying to send emails from, that is based on the team user or the main team lead. I like to think of as the main point of contact. Mm-hmm. So I was asking how, if we want multiple people trying to send out emails, right now you have to switch those access, access around. Do you want to expand on that at all?
Yeah, there's not really much to expand on. Our system really is geared towards one single user being the lead inside the transaction. Here in the next, probably around the first of the year, we'll look at adding alternate functionality where you can send off one-off emails from inside the application that doesn't use the specified default send from email address.
Cool. So, Angelica Lee, I will take a look into your comment in the note here. Try and get you the automated triggers so you can take a look into those and test that out.
Yeah, Megan, we are going to post all these on the, we're going to post them on the Facebook page. And we're also going to post them in our support center under webinars so that you have access to these. And then as they get older and we do new ones, we'll take, these older ones with less features off and pop in the new ones.
The Zapier API isn't most friendly service training. Yeah, we don't really offer anything in regards to service or training that can help walk through it. We do have some affiliates that we work with who we can point you towards who have built custom Zapier and API Nation interfaces. So if you want to reach out to support, they'll be able to direct you to those guys. So Aislinn, I think that's how you say your name. I'm not sure. Why is there a drop down to pick who it comes from? That drop down, that drop down list is the person's email addresses that are related to the person who was assigned to the transaction on that team. So you got a team user, those emails inside the team, that drop down list is from the team user. That's their emails that they have.
Yeah, they could have multiple emails through aliases hooked up in there. So you may have, 2 or 3 emails under one person. Let's see here, Lucy. We can talk about this on one-on-one, but as far as sharing all contacts, you shouldn't have a ton of. The agent should be choosing from your list of contacts that are already in the system. So you shouldn't be getting a ton of duplicates. If that's happening, I'd have to hear a little bit more about your process and how to solve that.
And then for Amy Gaskin, is the default texting number is that default texting number that we're seeing inside of the defaults the number 2 or the number from? So that would basically be the number that the text messages are sent from. Yes. So when it comes back to that number, which is associated to your user, it's going to look into your profile for what is their cell phone, so that they can notify you, or if somebody calls you, it'll connect to your cell phone or whatever's in there.
Yep.
So you can set email fonts up for global settings. That's a good question, Kylie, about email fonts. We don't currently have anything set up for that. We'll put it on our roadmap. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Training to beginners, I would say you could reach out to all over the Facebook page. You'll see posts, Jack Yakendell, evolvereal.com. And then also there's some other ones on there as well, Josie, and I think Donna does some still. So go to the Facebook page, look up help setting it up, and you'll see a bunch of posts on that.
Yeah, and I'm going to actually, if you guys haven't joined the Facebook page, I'm going to add a link right now. This will take you over to the Facebook page. There's a lot of wealth of information inside there. We have tons of posts every day, people just interacting with other users, with us. It really is our central point of communication with all of our users.
Use that search button, and you can type in pretty much anything, and there's probably a post on it in the past, or you can just post something new. Cool. I think we are out of questions.
Wrap. Another minute, see what happens.
Yeah.
We have the Jeopardy music queued up.
Yeah, right. We got we're decreasing now. Okay. we're about half the people were bounced off so far. So I think we're getting there.
Well, yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Kylie. Appreciate that.
Yeah, Jess, we'll look into the hyperlinks inside of the tasks. So we have that asked several times on here.
You know what? If you double click or triple click on that hyperlink, then you can right click and say, here, let me just show you real quick if you're still on here. If you have a hyperlink in here, and you triple click on that and right click, you can say go to open to close, and it's going to open up a new browser or a new tab with that in it. So that's a workaround for right now.
Good little hack.
I can tell you how many times I've actually used that with myself. Just double click, search, boom.
Yep. It's a little bit difficult. The only problem is if you do, the one downside to it is instead of the triple click, sometimes you have to, let me just show you here. If you double click, it's only going to give you the part in between the periods. And if you have a bunch of stuff written in here, like all this, then if you triple click this, it's going to take that whole line. So if you do, the trick to this is, even if it doesn't look that great, put this on its own separate line and then continue what you're saying here. And that way you can always use that triple click to get the website without having to, scroll over it. Not, takes an extra second, but, for people in a time crunch, just put it on its own line and you'll be able to go to that website quickly.